Start talking at home. Lily, a vibrant young woman, harbored a secret dream: to speak fluent English. Her native tongue was Mandarin, but the global language fascinated her deeply. She spent hours imagining conversations, envisioning herself confidently engaging with people from different cultures. Yet, a pervasive shyness often held her back, making the first step feel incredibly daunting. This fear was her biggest barrier. She understood that the journey had to begin somewhere, ideally within her comfort zone. Start talking at home, a language blog suggested, and Lily decided to embrace this simple advice. She began by narrating her daily activities aloud, describing her breakfast, her outfit, and even her thoughts. Her reflection became her first patient audience. This seemingly small act, talking to herself, was a crucial way of learning English. It built foundational confidence and familiarity with the sounds of the language. Soon, her family joined in, tolerating her English ramblings during dinner. They offered gentle corrections, turning everyday moments into informal language lessons, making the process less intimidating. Lily quickly realized that passive learning wasn't enough; active production was key. She understood the importance of speaking out loud. To diversify her practice, she started labeling household items in English, a visual and auditory exercise. This immersive approach slowly chipped away at her hesitation, fostering a more natural engagement. Next, she explored how to talk to people in pairs. Online language exchange platforms became her new battlefield. Initially, her heart pounded with anxiety before every video call. What if she made mistakes? What if she couldn't understand? These worries were constant companions during her early attempts. Her first few conversations were indeed awkward, filled with long pauses and fumbled words. But with each interaction, something shifted. Her partners, often fellow learners, were patient and encouraging. They shared similar struggles, creating a supportive environment where making errors was not just accepted but often expected. Why you should practice speaking became clearer with every successful exchange. The theoretical knowledge in her head started to transform into usable language. She found that the more she spoke, the more fluid her thoughts became, reducing the mental gymnastics required to form sentences on the spot. Lily also learned that consistency was paramount. Even short, daily conversations proved more effective than sporadic long ones. This disciplined routine solidified new vocabulary and grammatical structures. It reinforced her commitment, turning a daunting task into an enjoyable, integrated part of her daily life. Beyond structured practice, Lily immersed herself in English media. Movies without subtitles, podcasts during her commute, and English music became her constant companions. This exposure helped her absorb natural speech patterns and idioms, a vital step in truly understanding how people speak English. She noticed how native speakers used contractions, slang, and intonation differently from textbook examples. This real-world exposure offered a dynamic contrast to formal lessons. It taught her the nuances of everyday conversation, making her feel more connected to the living language, rather than just its academic form. Reading also became an indispensable part of her learning strategy. Why reading is so important resonated deeply with her. She started with simplified readers, gradually progressing to young adult novels and then contemporary fiction. Each book was a gateway to new words and phrases. Reading improved her vocabulary significantly, but more importantly, it enhanced her understanding of sentence structure and narrative flow. It provided context for new words, making them easier to remember and apply in conversation. Her comprehension skills soared with every page she turned. Moreover, reading introduced her to various accents and dialects through written dialogue, subtly preparing her ears for diverse speakers. It broadened her general knowledge, giving her more topics to discuss during her language exchanges. This holistic approach was truly transformative. Lily also realized the importance of active listening. During her conversations, she focused intently not just on the words, but on the speaker's tone, body language, and pauses. This comprehensive observation helped her grasp implied meanings and cultural nuances. She started transcribing short audio clips, then trying to mimic the pronunciation and intonation. This rigorous exercise, though challenging, greatly refined her accent and speaking rhythm. It was a precise way to bridge the gap between understanding and producing fluent English. Her confidence grew with each passing week. The thought of how to talk to anyone in English no longer seemed an insurmountable mountain, but a conquerable peak. She began seeking out opportunities in her daily life to use English, even small ones. At local cafes, she'd intentionally order her coffee in English, even if the barista spoke her native language. In shops, she'd ask for directions or product details, pushing herself just a little bit further each time. These micro-interactions were powerful confidence boosters. She understood that mistakes were inevitable and part of the learning curve. Instead of fearing them, she began to embrace them as learning opportunities. Each misstep was a chance to refine her grammar or clarify her pronunciation, moving closer to fluency. Lily discovered that the best way to learn English wasn't a single magical method but a combination of consistent effort across multiple fronts. It was a blend of active speaking, immersive listening, extensive reading, and fearless interaction. Her journey was a testament to the power of perseverance. She learned that progress isn't always linear. There were days she felt frustrated and stagnant. Yet, she reminded herself of her initial goal and the small victories she had already achieved. She continued her daily practice with language partners, discussing a wide array of topics, from current events to personal hobbies. These conversations moved beyond simple exchanges, becoming genuine dialogues that enriched her understanding of different perspectives. To further enhance her conversational skills, Lily started joining online discussion groups focused on her interests, like sustainable living and digital art. This allowed her to engage in authentic conversations about subjects she truly cared about, making practice enjoyable. These groups exposed her to diverse accents and informal language, pushing her out of her comfort zone. She learned to express complex ideas and opinions, contributing actively to discussions, not just passively listening. Her voice found its confidence. She also took short online courses that required verbal participation, forcing her to articulate her thoughts clearly and concisely. This structured practice provided valuable feedback on her pronunciation and grammatical accuracy, refining her spoken English. Recording herself speaking was another technique she employed. Listening back to her own voice helped her identify areas for improvement, such as intonation patterns or repetitive phrases. This self-assessment was an honest and effective way to polish her delivery. Lily also focused on learning common English idioms and phrasal verbs, which are often difficult for non-native speakers. She made flashcards and incorporated them into her daily conversations, striving for a more natural and idiomatic expression. She realized that truly mastering a language meant understanding its cultural context. So, she began watching documentaries about English-speaking countries and following news channels from different regions, connecting language to its broader environment. This cultural immersion enriched her vocabulary with specific terminology and nuanced expressions. It also helped her appreciate the diverse ways how people speak English across the globe, broadening her perspective and communication skills. Lily's approach wasn't just about memorization, it was about living the language. She wrote short journal entries in English, expressing her thoughts and feelings, turning language practice into a personal and reflective activity. Even simple things like changing her phone and computer settings to English helped. This constant exposure, though subtle, reinforced her learning and made English an ever-present part of her environment, deepening her immersion. She made friends with some of her online language partners, transitioning from formal practice to casual chats. These friendships provided authentic opportunities to use English in relaxed, spontaneous settings, making learning even more enjoyable. The fear of making mistakes, once a paralyzing force, gradually diminished. She understood that communication was the primary goal, and fluency would follow. This shift in mindset was pivotal in her journey toward becoming a confident English speaker. She learned to paraphrase when she couldn't find the exact word, a valuable skill for any language learner. This adaptability allowed her to maintain conversation flow even when her vocabulary felt limited, preventing awkward silences. Lily started noticing subtle improvements in her ability to think directly in English, rather than translating from her native language. This internal shift was a clear sign of progress, indicating a deeper integration of the language. She also sought out opportunities to interact with native English speakers in person, attending international student meetups and cultural events. These real-world encounters were invaluable for testing her skills in diverse social contexts. How to speak with people became less about perfect grammar and more about genuine connection. She focused on active listening and responding thoughtfully, understanding that effective communication is a two-way street. Lily found that asking open-ended questions encouraged longer responses, giving her more input to process and react to. This strategy enriched her conversations, moving them beyond basic question-and-answer exchanges. She practiced mirroring techniques, subtly adopting the speaking pace and tone of her conversation partners. This helped her sound more natural and approachable, fostering better rapport during discussions. Her commitment to how to practice English was unwavering. Every day, she dedicated a specific amount of time, whether it was 20 minutes or an hour, to active language engagement. This routine built strong habits. She discovered that learning English wasn't a sprint but a marathon, requiring continuous effort and patience. The joy of small victories, like understanding a complex joke or explaining a nuanced idea, fueled her motivation. The initial awkwardness of how to talk to people in pairs transformed into comfortable, flowing conversations. She could now discuss abstract concepts, debate opinions, and share personal anecdotes with ease and confidence. Lily's reading habits became more adventurous. She tackled non-fiction books on subjects she was passionate about, further expanding her specialized vocabulary. This made her conversations about those topics even richer. She also practiced summarizing articles or chapters in her own words, an exercise that solidified her comprehension and boosted her ability to articulate information concisely. This was a powerful learning tool. The benefits of why reading is so important were evident in her writing skills, too. Her emails became clearer, her essays more coherent, and her overall ability to construct well-formed arguments improved dramatically. Lily also learned to use online resources like pronunciation guides and grammar checker tools. These digital aids provided instant feedback, accelerating her learning curve and helping her self-correct effectively. She continued to observe how people speak English in various contexts, on TV shows, in interviews, and even during casual street conversations. This constant exposure fine-tuned her ear for subtle differences in accents and speeds. Her proactive approach to how to practice English meant she never waited for opportunities, she created them. From volunteering at international events to simply commenting on English social media posts, she sought out every chance. Eventually, Lily reached a point where she could confidently how to talk to anyone in English. The fear that once gripped her had vanished, replaced by a genuine excitement for cross-cultural communication. She could effortlessly switch between topics, express complex emotions, and even crack jokes in English. This level of fluency felt incredibly liberating, opening up new professional and personal doors for her. Lily's story is a powerful example of how dedicated and varied practice can transform a language learner. It highlights that fluency is not just about memorizing words, but about actively engaging with the language in every possible way. She understood that learning is an ongoing process. Even as she became fluent, she continued to read new books, listen to different podcasts, and seek out new conversational partners, always striving for deeper mastery. Her initial shyness had transformed into a calm self-assurance. She proved that with consistent effort and a willingness to step outside one's comfort zone, anyone could achieve their language learning aspirations, regardless of their starting point. The best way to learn English for Lily was a holistic, multifaceted journey. It integrated speaking at home, pair practice, extensive reading, and fearless interaction with strangers, each component strengthening the others. She became an advocate for practical, communicative learning, always encouraging others to prioritize speaking over passive study. "Don't be afraid to make mistakes," she'd often advise, "they are your best teachers." Lily's experience proved that true fluency comes from embracing English not just as a subject, but as a living tool for connection. Her world expanded, demonstrating that learning a language is truly about opening new doors and possibilities.